Hey guys, my name is Elias, and this is my small module on different types of chairs and different type of sharing style. So I'm just gonna run through it real quickly and give some a bit futures of these types of chairs and talk a little bit about the different sharing styles. So I'm just gonna start off saying that each person has his own personality, and it's the same thing with chairs in EYP sessions. And we can kind of see there are like six general types of the chairs in EYP sessions, which are actual kind of we kind of compare them to actually animals. So we have the lion, the rabbit, the monkey, the dove, the owl, and the dog. And I'm just gonna go through a bit of their features and the pros and cons. And I'm not gonna say because like there's nothing you can be a lion in a sense and it couldn't work 100% fine, and you can be a monkey and it will work 100% fine. I'm not gonna say that there's something positive and negative. Well, there are, but I'm not gonna say that there's one type of chair that you need to follow, because there isn't. So I'm just gonna run through what it is without like kind of choosing which one is good, because that's not the point of the module. But if I'm just going to start with the lion, some feature of the lion, when you think about a lion, you can think, oh yeah, it's confident, kind of a bit strict and aggressive in a sense. Well, with the pros with this type of chair, like a lion, is that you're confident, you can motivate the delegates really easy, you know what you're doing, but what can like happen when you are this type of chair, you can get a bit too intense, a bit too pushy, and you kind of type chairs like this kind of tend to interfere in the committee work, and this kind of will lead to the delegates being not fearing you, but being more afraid of making mistakes, which like it's a whole bad circle, which leads to the delegates then again not participating that much that they wish, just because they have this fear of making any mistakes. So that's the lion chair. To move on to the rabbit, we kind of see this sharing style like type of chair, especially when there's like first time share or anything, because you're pretty nervous, you get afraid to make mistakes, you like you want to do everything the right way, like always are on the committee, afraid to deviate from the plan. And like the pros with this, like you are very careful and avoid the risk of failure, and you like the committee usually sees you as a friend, and you probably have a clear plan of what you're going to do. But the cons with this type of chair is that you kind of lack a bit of confidence, like not yeah, and like kind of lack of authority, because if you're actively trying to be a friend to the delegate and always nervous and not really being able to improvise or be spontaneous when it's needed, then you kind of a bit lack of authority with delegates, and yeah. So and also with the spontaneousness and the improvisation, it's really important, especially when that you are able to kind of do it when, especially when like you never know what's going to happen with the plan. You might go from like a whole day of team building to just half a day. So you kind of need to have that in mind, as a rabbit chair in a sense. And if I'm going to move over to the dog chair, it's pretty similar to the rabbit chair. You're pretty friendly, cheerful, supportive, and involved, which like has a positive side, like a supportive atmosphere, and you as a friend, as the rabbit, you're a friend for the committee, and the delegates feel confident and comfortable coming up to you and talking with you. But the cons was with with this type of share is that you are too involved sometimes and a bit overwhelming, and as the rabbit share you can lose authority and attempt, like if you're attempting to become a friend, which like didn't really happen. And owl, when you think of an owl, especially like in Disney films, owls are really like the smart people, animals, and the confident and like the academic ones. An owl share is the academic one, the rational, the perfectionist in a sense, and calm and constructive. On the one hand, it's good to like it's the academic quality is really good, and he's really approachable and ready to provide help if asked. And like on the other hand, you can get too much of a perfectionist, and people might feel underestimated or ignored, since you're kind of really high up there with academic qualities, especially. To move on to the dove, the dove is known of being used as a sign of peace, and like a dove share kind of peaceful, relaxed, kind, loving, friendly. The pros, you're balanced, you care about the delegates, and there's a comfortable atmosphere in the committee. But the cons is that you can be come too close to the delegates, and you can which kind of tends to kind of lack of the authority, and you can kind of lose the track of the work. And at the end, the last animal is monkey. So monkey is would be really energized and proactive, positive. How to say it? Is not in front like to fool around or be a fool in front of the delegates. This leads to a positive energy and like not afraid to seem stupid in a sense, and like there be experiencing with new methods of like in team building or community or anything. But the con is like the delegates might not take you as serious as you want them to do, and they wouldn't really be paying attention to much details, and you kind of like with the thing with they're not taking you seriously, you might after a while kind of lose authority over the committee, and risk to becoming too close to the delegates. And I've been talking through like before I'm going to move on to the chairing styles. I've been talking about this lack of authority and having too much authority with the delegates. The thing is, there shouldn't be like personally I think there shouldn't be this type of view that like, oh yeah, I'm the chair, I'm the better one, and like you kind of look down to the delegates. That I personally think that shouldn't be a thing. But then again, when working, you are the chair, you are the one who are delegating the chair, like chairing the committee, and you know what the delegates should do. You know everything with the time. Academically, you tend to be better than the delegates in your own topic, and that's why when you get too close to the delegates, some people might find it hard to gain control later on and be really strict. So this is just something that you keep in mind. That sometimes, for example, for me, I'm really like the type of chair who really becomes like a friend with the delegates, and I see myself as a chair who is approachable for the delegates, hopefully. And but then again, I actually something that I'm kind of good at that. Like when it's like working time, I like kind of have the authority, and like I'm really strict with delegates when they need to work, and not be afraid to take like control over community just because you want to keep being their friend, because like the session has like a small time, and then you need to finish your work at the time frame. So that's the only comment I have on the authority thing. If I'm going to move on to the different types of sharing styles, so we have the active sharing and passive sharing that hopefully you've heard of. So active sharing is being physically and mentally in the discussion of the committee. Like you'll be sitting in the circle with a group, you'll be asking questions in between, directing discussion, spending the time with the delegate outside the official program. That's really active sharing, and it's pros. You have a structure to the committee work a bit more, and kind of it has always a flow. You always know what the delegates are discussing, and you can like jump in when needed, and you also get to bond with the committee. But the kind of cons with this type of sharing style is that the delegates might feel kind of supervised the whole time, and one might get carried away with like the active sharing and get and kind of get too much. There'll be too much a bit for the delegates. Which you need to keep in mind. And then on the other hand, you have the passive sharing. It's obviously the opposite of active sharing. Passive sharers are like comfortable with leaving the room and expecting the delegates to finish the task handed by them. They trust the delegates a lot. Well, like with this, like in this particular example, like you kind of not you're not really participating actively, and sometimes it might end up not really becoming as close as to the delegates as you wanted. The pros with this type of sharing is you build a trust connection with delegates, especially as I said with the if you're going to leave the room and tell them you have 20 minutes to do this and you actually trust them to finish it, then that's kind of example of passive sharing. You also give them the independence over the word. Yeah, and kind of at the end they might be aware of that with them, and like they'll be more aware of the time and that they kind of manage the time on their own. And there's kind of also a more natural flow of the discussion, like instead of you being there, that kind of directing them to what they're gonna or like asking them questions, each one of them. But the cons with this passive sharing is like there's a handshake of delegates not keeping the time and keeping the discussion friendly when if well, like take an example that I mentioned earlier, not being there in the room, and kind of like if you're not really active sharing and like actively sitting there and listening to the discussion full on, like doing other things or just as I said not in the room, and that kind of can become really easy if that the delegates really talk about something else rather than talking about discussing the topic. So those are kind of the two types of sharing styles, and like the best thing is kind of to find a balance between them, which like balance between being passive share, trusting the delegates, and at the same time also being active share, like you jump in the discussion whenever needed, help them with anything that they need, and like being there on time in a sense, like mentally. Also, you get to really close with the delegates. So I think this is like it's really good to if you find your sweet spot between these two type of sharing, which is like the common thing that people kind of balance between both of them and have like a mix of these different styles. But some people tend to be more of an active share than a passive share, and it's all good as long as your committee is comfortable with that. Because something I haven't mentioned is that for instance, I've noticed in one of my sessions that my delegates weren't just responding to active sharing, so I switched to passive sharing just for the sake of the delegates, for them to feel more comfortable, or like kind of not getting more authority, but like they're getting more independent and more comfortable, and actually it worked better for them, and better for the community work and the flow of community work and everything. So sometimes you just have to like most of the time it's like being a bit of both, but sometimes you just have to kind of adapt to the delegates and how they can see the situation and what suits them best. So that was my small module. Hope it helped you. If you need any help, just or like any question, you have any questions, just send me a message. Thank you.